Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Purdue.
Hey, it's that time again. Come on in. Hey, get your favorite beverage. Sit back, relax, and let's get over here and get inspired. Let's get motivated. Let's get encouragement. Provide some hope for somebody out there that needs it. Now, we all know that we're all struggling. Somebody's struggling. Something's going on. So today, our guest, let me get over here. She is a recovering alcoholic, was a compulsive overeater, and also had a child at a younger age, 17, and she went on and became a successful fitness trainer, builder, and has her own business right now to help other people. Welcome to the show, Amy Hoffer.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I was hoping to do a better job on that, but I kept watching my internet. We're having that spotty thing again. So, but thank you for being here. And I appreciate the message you sent to me that you wanted to be on the show. And your story is going to be phenomenal, to say the least.
I mean, I've lived it, so I don't feel like it, but I love sharing my story with others because I know that when others shared with me, that helped tremendously. So I got to pay it forward.
There we go. Pay it forward, pay it backwards, pay it sideways. Let's get it out there and pay it to everybody to get an opportunity to get some education, some hope, some motivation, inspiration, and we go from there. All right, Andy. So let's go ahead and get started now. You said that I also jumped out of there real quick that you was a victim of child sexual abuse while on the streets. Now, what do you mean on the streets? We know the other part, but what do you mean on the streets?
So from the ages of 13 to 16, I used to habitually run away from home. Like I would disappear. I would not come back, and I was staying, at train stations. I was staying at, friends' houses. I was being picked up by Johns and crashing at their house. And I was basically actively participating in sex for money trade.
All right. I end up, and that's understand it to be, for a survivor, to live on for the next day.
Right.
When teenagers are like that, just run away, and it's not because they want to get into it. It's a way to survive from there. Okay. And now, so then that's 13 to 16. Then at 17, you had your daughter. But during this 13 to 16, is that where also you got into your drug abuse and alcoholic and the overeating during this time as well?
So the alcoholic drinking, the alcoholic mind, I think I've always had it. Like even from very young, I was always overeating. My parents had to lock the refrigerator because I would get in there and just eat everything. And the alcoholic drinking was, I just fantasized about being drunk at very young. And, once I hit 13 years old, I want to say, that's when I started drinking. But it was never like, when you start to drink, you have one like, no, my purpose to drink was to get drunk. So alcoholically, right from the beginning, it was like I took to it very quickly.
And again, that's helped to get through the Johns and get over with and forget as quick as possible.
So actually, a lot of my drinking was to not be questioned about my age, because I'm 100% sure now, looking at it as somebody who's almost 40 years old, that they knew what my age was anyways. But when I was going through it, I did it because I didn't want anybody to question my age. I didn't want anybody to know I was so young, because then they might ask, hey, where's your parents? Why aren't you going home? So I would, mimic what I thought drinking alcohol was, and that was drink to excess. And that sort of, allowed me to sort of navigate a world of older people, but also to just be numb to what I was doing, and to sort of just get through it.
So you're trying to play the role as an adult to fool other people that you're not a minor from
Right.
there. All right. Okay. I understand. And, yeah, because they did. You would think that you would think and hope that they would question, are you legitimate age? And with you drinking, that gives them the perception that they wouldn't have to question you.
Right. I mean, again, thinking back on it through the lens of an older person, like, there's no way that they didn't know what my age was, but it sort of gave them permission to allow for it to happen, because they were like, oh, well, she's drinking. I could just, pretend like she's older. And if I get caught, then, I can point to that behavior and sort of absolve me of what I was doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, because she's drinking. They don't give alcohol or beer, or liquor to minors. They're all adults, and
Right.
so that was their way of fooling themselves, fooling everybody else, and not to be questioned. So yeah, I can understand that and see that. So all right, and you were blessed. I don't know if you felt blessed at the time. I'm sure it was a struggle with a daughter at the age of 17. So what went on there, and she's still a part of your life, or how did that turn around?
So at the age of 17, so something happened at 16 where I wound up finally just kind of saying I need to do something with myself. And I wound up getting my GED, going to college or community college to take some classes. And I met someone, and, having survived all that abuse for many years, in my head, like, pregnancy wasn't even on the radar. And so I wasn't taking care of myself, and I wasn't, just like, I was just going crazy. And so I met somebody, and I wound up pregnant. And, from the very beginning, it was like, I had my family who were very, I don't know if it's disappointment. I can't put words into their mouth, but I do know that it really hurt a lot of my family to find out that at 17 I was pregnant. I do know that. But what the thought occurred to me that, maybe it wouldn't be in my best interest to have a child so young. But, when I had discussions about it, like, that was not an option. Like, I knew deep down that I was not going to terminate my pregnancy, because I could not do that. Like, this to me was a life. This to me was somebody already, and it was just not going to happen. So, I wind up having the baby, and, I was still, like, during my pregnancy, thank God I was sober the entire time, but then afterwards it was just right back to who I was. So, being a mom did not change my sort of outlook on life. It didn't really change anything about me. I was still drinking alcoholically, still smoking, still partying, still engaging in very risky behavior. And the biggest part of my story is that, like, I was a terrible mom. I was a shitty mom. Like, and I will not let anybody take that away from me, because I know that through that experience, I was able to change a lot, even though it wasn't the determining factor. But, my behavior with my daughter has been my driving force ever since I decided to get sober. So.
All right. And I was going to ask something like, what you talking about, uh, maybe not say a shitty mother, but I was going to say, were you one of them that now I'm having a baby, and then this baby's going to get everything in the world. I'm going to make sure, and grew up because of the baby, and then say, I'm not going to treat my baby the way I was. She won't have to run away at 13. I'm going to totally, and that's what I was wondering. but you went on and said because you didn't change your behavior, you weren't the best mom around.
Right. Right.
Okay. All right. So not to dig too deep in everything, but did you keep the daughter, the child? Was your parents take her away? Did you get to finally raising and straightening up and raising your child, or was it placed somewhere else?
Oh, no. So my daughter she's been always with me. Her
Okay.
father is still in her life. Like, we did the best that we could for two very young people to have a daughter. And the reason that, like, I say that I was a terrible parent was because a part of that with the alcoholism and the addiction what came, like, just perpetuating physical abuse, psychological violence. It became very much like I could not handle the idea of being a mom if I couldn't even handle being a human being. So but she's in college now. She's doing very well, just it was just during that time that I think she bared the brunt of my addiction. And so I make a living amends to her every single day because of the horrible things that she had to endure because of me.
Yes. Now, when for 13 to 16, you're talking about being on the streets and doing everything like that. Did you ever have contact with your parents? Did you call them and they tell you to come home and you still didn't do it? I mean, did you have contact with them, or was it all or nothing?
So no, I was in and out of their houses. I know that at some point it just they got frustrated, and because they couldn't keep me in the house, and so I wound up having to move to another country, and I was doing things over there that were very similar to what I was doing with my parents. So my aunt, she was like, okay, this is a problem, this is bigger than what I can help you. So I wound up living with my grandmother in Houston. And then when that happened, like, again, I was running away because she was working all hours of the night as a nurse, and I would just disappear and she wouldn't be able to find me. So it was, people understood that they could not control me, that they could not get through to me. And they just tried to, like, pass me off to somebody who maybe could. And through that experience, I wound up figuring out that, like, I really don't like to be told what to do. I'm somebody who, when I kind of get my mind set on something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. But, you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me how to live. You can't get through to me. And a lot of that was not, I don't want to, like, put the onus on my parents, but, just it coming from the background that I did, where everybody was working a lot of hours, there was very little supervision, that, I grew up kind of like a wild child, that, I couldn't even begin to accept somebody's guidance. Like, as a kid, I was very wild. I was, always crying, always screaming, always very angry. And so, just the running away was just that next step in, trying to assert my independence and trying to assert my, dominance over my own life, because I refused to let anybody control me. Like, I've just always been like that, even from a very young age.
I could tell just by listening here what I got to listen to that I'm glad you continued on. But yeah, you're a strong-willed woman, strong, hard-headed, strong-willed mind, whatever you want to call it. Seems to be very positive. Where even when you went through that childhood, 13 to 16, even though you were alcoholic, stuff like that, did you try to stay as positive as possible? Is that just inbred into you?
So positivity for me did not come naturally at all. I was always very pessimistic, very fatalistic, like everything is, the world is ending. Excuse me. So it, like, what does it matter? Like, you know, the idea, like, I think one of the things that I really thought very early on was, if these horrors can happen to somebody so young, then clearly there is no determination of good and evil, because evil should not exist for children. Evil should not be happening to children. But yet there was. It was something that, so I think I just adopted this nothing matters. Like, you're like not going to convince me otherwise. And a lot of that actually fueled a couple of suicide attempts later on. But yeah, no, I did not. Like, my positive attitude is very, very much a creation of my current circumstances.
And suicidal, if anybody gets that far low and everything, be sure to look for some help. Go find somebody you can talk to, call a suicide hotline, do something. Don't just go through this rabbit hole by yourself. And have attempted suicide a couple of times in my life. I did 3 times in 3 days. That's how bad I wanted out. And I'm survived, and now I'm here doing this. And so you'll see what the Lord's plan still has for me to do something. So hopefully this is part of it to help other people. So, all right. Well, I'm glad you're still here then, Andy. I'm glad you're here, that the suicide wasn't successful. I'm glad you're successful in other areas, but I'm glad you weren't in that one. So now, so you 17, went to college, had your daughter, and then so what got you to finally wake up in this world and say, man, this is just a shitty life. I'm just not going to do it any longer, and things have got to get better. About how long did that take, and then what did you do to make things better?
So many years of drinking. I had a lot of jackpots. I was drunk driving. I had been arrested. It was just kind of minor stuff, nothing that actually put me in jail or prison, but the cops did not like me. After, failed relationships, failed jobs, after, not being able to hold on to friends, not having family relationships, after all of that, none of that convinced me that I needed to actually stop drinking or work on myself. Like, all of that, like, everybody else was the problem and not me. However, on one night where, I was working as a nuclear engineer, as a radiation effects specialty engineer, I put together an event for the company at a bar. It was like one of those, like, where you go and you paint and you drink, and everybody comes and just had a good time. And so I organized this event, and because I organized this event, it was like on a random Thursday night. The owner of the bar was just giving me drinks, because bars are typically empty on a Thursday night in this area, and bringing 35 people to like eat and drink, they was like, hey, thank you, here, have drinks. And so one of the lines that I never wanted to cross was to get drunk at a work function. I mean, never mind the abuse, never mind the drunk driving, waking up with strangers, waking up in a dumpster, being violently ill, being hospitalized, never mind all of that. But the fact that, like, I couldn't stop drinking at this work function, I remember walking back to the train and thinking, oh my God, maybe I can't control this. Maybe this is beyond what I can do. And there had been other sort of things kind of leading up to that, but that was like the moment that really, like, the light switch went off in my head, where I was like, okay, no, like, I can't drink. And so for 10 months after stopping drinking, like, the only way that I knew not to drink was to avoid my friends, avoid my family, just isolate. So avoidance and isolation was all I knew. By the end of those 10 months, I called up a cousin and I told him, I was like, hey, like I'm crying every day. I think I have some like weird disease where I need to drink to be happy. And they were like, oh, like this is above my pay grade. You need to talk to your therapist at the time. And thank God that I was like seeing a therapist. And so the therapist says, well, there are meetings for that. And I said, no, that's not me. I'm not an alcoholic. Like, I need to drink, I need to be social. And they were like, okay. But I said, in order to prove you wrong, I'm going to go to a meeting and I'm going to, once that doesn't work, that's it. I'm just going to go back to my lifestyle because obviously this isn't working for me. So I found a meeting that was right down the street from my job, lunchtime, not inconvenient at all. And the person who was sharing that day was somebody who was, a man in their 70s. They were white. They were like the complete opposite of, who I was, this Latina 30-something-year-old woman. I'm just sitting in the corner of the room and this person is speaking and they're saying their story, but everything that they were saying were the things that were in my mind that needed to be said. And at that moment, I realized, no, okay, so yes, this is where I need to be. This is where, I fit in. And so I wind up, raising my hand and saying I'm an alcoholic. And that was the moment where my life changed because I knew what was wrong with me. And when I figured out what was wrong with me, I had hope because I knew that there was a solution. Every great problem has a solution. And I was willing, I had the gift of desperation to just do whatever it took. They could have told me that I'd have to run a mile every single day, and I would have done it because I was just like, no, I have to get it done. Like if this is going to save my life, then I'm just going to throw myself into it. And that's what I did.
Yeah, the amazing words that when you openly say it and finally admit and have accepted it that I'm alcoholic could be strong words.
Right.
I mean, yeah, because I've seen and talked to other people, and they'll still swear I'm not an alcoholic, but I want this drink to continue feeling like an adult, to be able to social event, whatever it is. But they'll swear they're not, and even though they're drinking and driving, other things, and their family life is breaking apart, but it's still I'm not an alcoholic. So until you finally face that reality, it's hard to convince anyone.
Right. And I think one of the things that's really challenging being in program and seeing other people who suffer from some of the same symptoms that I have is, allowing them to just, travel their journey without labeling them. Because I feel like, if you would have told me while I was in the throes of my addiction, hey, you're an addict, I would have been like, nah, no, that's not me. Like, you don't get to say that about me. But the world kind of just guided me to that conclusion, and a lot of people who are in my life played a part of that rather than forcing me to look at that conclusion. And so I think just by sheer providence of God's will and being able to just walk in my own footsteps and my own sort of journey, that I made that conclusion. But I honestly believe, and that's one of the things that I talk about a lot, is that even motherhood wasn't a strong enough purpose for me. Being in a relationship, my job, none of that was a strong enough purpose for me. It was just, I got to that moment where it was like pure, unadulterated communication with my higher power that I need to change it.
Yeah. Nancy, she come on in. Thank you, Nancy. And she says that she's glad that you were not successful with suicide. and she's like both of us that she had attempted in her life as well, and she's glad that she wasn't successful in that area. So,
Right.
Nancy, thank you for coming in. And this is Andy telling her story today. So, all right, Andy. So now we've you woke up now from this. I'm assuming AA meeting. It may be something else, but I'm assuming AA. And you've woke up now, and you decide life's got to be better, different, and go from there. And you want to better your life. I'm assuming with your daughter as well. So you go through college and you become this
I didn't understand that.
nuclear engineer. My, my phone is trying to work. I don't know why. All right. And so you go to college, you become this nuclear engineer.
So I went to college. I studied electrical engineering. So I actually started in community college and started doing basic engineering classes, like just to sort of get a feel for the engineering field, engineering discipline. And then I wound up going to a university where I graduated as an electrical engineer, landed my first job as an electrical engineer, but then specializing in radiation effects on electronic components. So my life kind of just guided me in that direction, and just kind of putting one foot in front of the other, became this nuclear engineer, practicing building missiles and guidance systems for missiles and computers for um, uh, missiles. So it really was an interesting experience.
Well, this goes to tell me how brilliant of a youngster, teenager you really were, but for whatever rebellion was stronger in that area to do what you did. But it goes on to tells me, man, for you to finally wake up and be where to get a better life, that you already had this um, incorporated into your lifestyle, deep down. Again, you just ignoring it because you whatever you're rebellion against, okay. But look at the waste that could have happened if the suicide was attempt was success, or if you'd have continued staying down in that rabbit hole of abuse right there. And so we're definitely glad that you were able to go to that AA and find new hope in life for this. That's amazing. That when you finally wake up and discover how good you can be, how much potential you really have, and now look what you have to offer other people with your engineering degree.
Right, right. I think when I'm going through it at the time, it doesn't feel like that. It's more of like let me check these boxes off so that I can appear to be a successful, well-rounded human being. Like that was just what was in my head. It was like, you buy a home, you get a job, you finish school. Like that was what I had seen in other people. So that was what I was going to emulate. But the fact is that, even that career was not me, the homes not me, the cars not me, the relationships not me. I mean, I could play the part very well, and obviously I was dedicated enough to the craft to be able to be successful in doing it. But on the flip side, it was like I'm just kind of coasting in a direction that is just so unfulfilling and just kind of sucking the life out of me more. And a lot of that was, I don't know what to do. I don't know, even if I did know what to do, I don't know how to do it. And so I'm just going to sit and medicate and just blame everybody else for why my life is crap. Even though if you look at my resume, it looks amazing, but deep down, I was dying. I was just a lost soul at that point.
Mm-hmm. And once you finally took your alcoholic and released the cork on it and let the proverbial genie out of the bottle to let you start growing and blossoming out there, there's still had to be some still struggling where you're going, do I really want to do this? Am I really successful? Am I really going to be able to do this? Am I doing this and then going to fail? I mean, you still had to question yourself because of all the stuff in the past, but you're able to overlook that, to push through, to go find how much potential and how much of really you is out there.
So I think self-doubt is inherent to most people. I mean, they're the exceptional few that are just, go and they do it, and really, really, like, people who just don't even think about whether they deserve the outcome or not. They just do. I am not one of those people. I am one of those people that at every turn, I am like, oh, like, is this something that I can do? Is this something that I can achieve? Am I worthy of a positive outcome? Like, I question myself very much. However, the lesson that I have learned over the past 6 years is that success is not guaranteed. It's not, but it's a consequence of hard work. It's a consequence of getting up every time you get knocked down. It's a consequence of, just being so focused and driven that even if you fail, you try again, you keep going, you keep pushing forward. And so, yeah, failure is inherent to success. You will fail a million times on the road to succeeding. And the difference between, deserving the positive outcome and not achieving it is, is it going to knock you down? Is it going to stop you from moving forward? And I think, 6 years ago, I made the decision to just get up and stay up.
The Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa, was once said in one of his movies was, it's not that when you get knocked down that you have to get up, but it's how fast you get up.
Right.
Is what he's saying. Yeah, I mean, we're all going to get up, but it's how fast you get up and then recuperate and continue on. So,
Right.
and Nancy's over here. She's talking about she got into a drinking problem and stuff, and she stays away from it, and believes that this mental and physical abuse, it takes a toll on people, to keep knocking them down as well. So, and I believe we self-impose our limitations more than the outside. We want to blame other people for a bunch of stuff, but and overall, we're the ones that go, no, we can't do it, and we do whatever it else. We can blame all them all we want to. That they didn't make us change our mind and do. We changed the mind and follow through whatever.
Right.
So, and so now you got a nice, strong young lady, because you've been a great example, I would think, for her to follow once she realizes old enough and straighten out and everything like that. Now, so being with the nuclear engineering for about 10 years still wasn't good enough. You decided to get into fitness and got your own business going and everything like that. So tell us about that.
So my fitness journey and my my engineering journey overlap. And actually my fitness journey, I've always been into fitness and health, but it was a very toxic sort of relationship I had with it. It was, saying I deserve food because I worked out today. It was binging, purging because I had to maintain a certain weight, abusing diet pills. It was a very toxic way for me to sort of be able to use those tools that can be powerful and great, but I was just using them as a way to abuse. And so I really want to say that the pivotal moment for myself was when I discovered yoga. And yoga led me through this incredible internal transformation about figuring out who I am, the capability of my body, and just putting me back into my body. One of the biggest lessons that I learned is that, is trying to find stillness when you're in the midst of suffering. So, you hit a very challenging yoga pose, and, the teacher's there telling you like what to do, and, you're contorted, you're like a pretzel, and your body is physically, but you have to sit there with that sort of contortion and breathe and be centered and, sort of push through that. And I just remember thinking at one point, wow, if I can endure this physical uncomfortability, then, there's really nothing I couldn't endure. And so I decided that, I was going to explore what my body could do. And so through fitness, like I had my own yoga program for about a year and change. And when things started heating up in America, I wound up losing that space, just due to financial reasons. And then I, shifted over to weightlifting. And, as a fitness instructor, I'd always had the sort of desire to help other people physically. So I integrated a program that was not only weightlifting, but also had a component of yoga. And so through that, I have been building my business for, really over 4 or 5 years now, and have touched many lives through that, and empowering people who believe that, they're not capable of doing things physically. And, just say, give me a month, give me 3 months, and just let me help you. And, every time everybody's like, wow, I cannot believe I can do that. I would have never imagined that is possible. And I was like, okay, now let's apply that to the rest of your life. And so then we start working on mindset. We start working on, empowering them to use the tools that they've learned through physical fitness and, nutrition, to bring them to do other things.
All right. Also, yeah, it's awesome. Hey, if you're looking for a fitness coach, you need to get hold of Andy Hoffer, and she is the example of where we talk about perseverance. I mean, to go through the childhood struggle with the abuse and with the alcohol and recover. Drug recovery as well, and the sexual abuse and everything going through there, and to be where you're at today. Great example, perfect example of perseverance in life. And I bet you she'll be able to help you with your fitness goals. So, Andy, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
So I'm mainly on Instagram at A Hoffer Coaching. On Instagram, you can DM me there. My website is Andy Hoffer Coaching, and my Facebook is also Andy Hoffer Coaching. So reach out, if you're looking to get some fitness, nutrition, and mindset coaching. Reach out. That's what I'm here. A lot of my teachings are based off of program, anonymous program lessons. And so I bring sort of that spin to it for my clients.
And we'll put those links, Hoffer Coaching, we'll put those links down in the description, so make it easier for people to click on it. But again, if you want to go to it, it's A Hoffer, Hoffer Coaching, and you can be able to get a hold of her through that way for her to help you with your fitness goals. So, all right, man, I'm glad you reached out, Andy, and wanted to be on the show here. Great story of overcoming adversity, challenges. Too many people want to play in the mud with the pigs and just wallow around and put that self-pity and not want to. They may want to get out, but then at the end of the day, they decide not to. And so I'm glad you are able to find your way out. And now you can, like I said, help plenty of people out there with there. And don't forget to write that book. So don't forget to write that book. Again, name it. You can name it again. Changing one
Engineering
nuclear.
life.
Yeah, engineering life at a time or something. I don't know. So put that life engineering in there
Yeah,
with it. So somehow.
thank you for that.
There you go. Somehow, yeah, don't want to be exactly what I said, but work it in there, work it
Yeah.
in there. So, all right, Andy, there's people struggling today and everything. If you can give us one or two pieces of advice quickly on how to help them get through today, that would be awesome if you can do that for us.
So, first, I just want to say thank you so much for having this podcast. You are doing a service to people who need to hear it. And I am just so grateful that there are people like you in this world that are able to have a platform. And I hope you continue this for many, 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 many years, because it is so invaluable to people who are struggling to actually have resources out there, which is what I found to be challenging when I was struggling. And so, my piece of advice to everybody who is just trying to make it through the day, just trying to make it through the moment, reach out, reach out. You disempower anger, frustration, self-hate when you reach out. It is so important to be able to just say those things that are in your head. It is so important to be able to speak into existence the words that are troubling you, because once they come out, they no longer hold power. I fully believe that. Journal if you must, turn the camera on you and just start speaking. Say it out loud, cry it, do what you need to do, but make it one more moment and reach out.
Amen. Make it one more moment and grab what you can to hang on to get you through the next moment and the next, and continue building onto that. So, Andy, thank you, boy. You've been a great inspiration for us. Provided a lot of help. Again, they say this stuff on the internet's going to be there forever now. So hopefully in 100,000 years from now, whatever it be called then, someone's going to stumble across and you're going to help them and not even know it, because you'll be in a better place as well. So, all
Thank
right.
you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. Nancy, thank you for coming in and chiming in and helping us with some of your insight as well. Everyone else, do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.